I think it's definitely fair to say a lot of FPL managers are going to be using their free hit ahead of game week 34, but I'm not one of them. And here is my team selection for game week 34. All right then, starting off with the goalkeepers and defenders, and well, I've got a bit of a problem here with 0 million in the bank, absolutely nothing in the bank. I've got an injured Connor Bradley, Gusto who plays Arsenal, Udogie who blanks, and Richards for Crystal Palace who is injured as well. So I think I definitely need to be making a transfer here. Although ultimately, as you can probably guess, with Branthwaite being injured for Everton as well, and I think being 4.3 million now, I'm kind of stuck as to what I can do. The reason I say that, I don't really want to sell Gusto and I don't really want to sell Udogie either because well, they both got a double game week next week. So selling a player the week before they have a double game week just seems madness to me. So I don't think I can do that. What I'm going to do, and we'll find out later in the video exactly how I'm going to do that, I'm going to take some money from elsewhere in my team. I'm going to have to downgrade another asset to upgrade Connor Bradley. We'll talk about who I'm going to buy in his place in a second. As for the rest of my defence, Dubravka against Crystal Palace, I think trumps Petrovic against Arsenal. So I'm going to kind of have to do that. Gabriel, I still think he's the best defender in the game. Arsenal, of course, have been, a couple of losses on the bounce for them now, but I don't think that losing run is going to continue. And based on the data they've put up across the season, they're by far and away still the best defence in the league. Gabriel, his threat from set pieces makes him, in my opinion at least, still the most likely defender to score a goal pretty much every game week. So he's in my team. He's not going anywhere. Gusto, reluctantly, I'm just going to have to start him, I think. I've got 2 frees. I'm going to have to use that downgrading someone and upgrading Bradley, basically, or buying someone in place of Bradley. So I don't really think it's worth taking a hit to sell Gusto. Maybe I could take a hit to sell Richard and start someone in Gusto's place. That could be something to consider, I guess. But right now, I think, given how attacking he is for Chelsea, off the back of course, a 6-0 win against Everton, of all weeks to play Gusto in a tough fixture, this could be a decent one, so I think I'm going to stick with him, but I have to do something about Connor Bradley. The player I've got lined up to replace him is quite simply, it's Ben White. He's only now 0.1 million more than Saliba, and I think even through doubles where other teams double, like Game Week 37 and Arsenal don't, I think across the season I'd probably be happy to start pretty much every game double Arsenal defence, just with how strong they've been this season. And given that White is only 0.1 million more than Saliba now, and definitely trumps him in terms of total attacking returns. I mean, the guy's, what's that, 21 returns, including clean sheets, of course, from 29 starts. Whereas Saliba doesn't really offer all that much attacking threat. So I think for me, given he's only 0.1 million more expensive now, it kind of makes sense to pick him. I would say he's now probably the second best Arsenal defender behind Gabriel. I'd obviously say Saliba's up there as well, and outside of Saliba, I don't think there's an Arsenal defender you can guarantee is going to play every game. Ben White's nailed on in that team. Arsenal, the best defence in the league. He's a bit expensive, don't get me wrong, at 6 million, but I just think he's a surefire pick. And with maybe Aït-Nouri being injured, for example, or being an injury doubt, I don't think I can spend a transfer to bring him in, particularly when he's got Arsenal as one of his 2 fixtures, right? I don't think he's definitely not going to keep a clean sheet there, whereas Arsenal have got Wolves and Chelsea in the space of the game week. If they find their previous form, they could conceivably keep 2 clean sheets in those 2 games. So, yeah, for that reason, I think Ben White's probably the second best Arsenal defender, and I think the guy that I want to bring in. Keep watching, though, to find out how I'm going to facilitate that. Midfield, then, and I've got to be honest, there's not a whole lot to talk about here. Saka, Salah, Sarabia, and Palmer. Yes, I don't have 4 doubling midfielders like other players might have, but I think these 4 are as good as they come. Sarabia, little bit put off by him. He's still only 4.7 million. He's probably going to play. But with Cunha being back for Wolves, one of the things that really sold me on Sarabia when I picked him was he's on penalties when Cunha's not on the pitch. But yeah, with Hwang and Cunha back, I don't think he necessarily takes the Wolves penalties anymore. But I still think he can be a good option. A double game week, 4.7 million. I mean, I think it's worth starting him. Well, I kind of have to. Son's got a blank, right? So I'm going to have to play him. Salah as my captain, Saka as my vice. I think they're just the 2 strongest players for this double. They're nailed on for their respective teams. They're talisman, on penalties, playing 90 minutes most games. I just think you've got to go for Salah as captain this week. And then I got Cole Palmer as well. I don't think, there's a whole lot to say about him, given everyone knows the recent form that he's had, right? The only kind of thing that would put you off, I guess, is that he's playing Arsenal. But if there was any player that could break through the Arsenal defence, get a penalty or score a goal, whatever, however Cole Palmer gets his points, it's him, right? He is the man in form in the league at the moment, and I'm not worried about starting him against Arsenal. Right, on to the front three then, and I think this is where I'm going to have to sell someone in order to fund a Connor Bradley upgrade. One thing to mention is Haaland. He got subbed off against Real Madrid and he's flagged at the moment in FPL with a potential injury. I think he's going to be fine to play Game Week 34 though, so not too worried about that one, but just thought it'd be noteworthy that he's currently flagged. Solanke and Darwin as my other two strikers. I think Darwin's got to be the one to go for me. Solanke's going to play both games of the double. He's a 90-minute man on penalties. And, I wouldn't be too worried about holding him long term. And he's a little bit cheaper than Darwin as well. Darwin's in at 7.6 million for me at the moment. With Jota being back, I would question how likely Darwin is to start both games of the double. And I think for that reason, I could quite easily sell him for a cheaper double game week striker that is more likely to get more minutes. I've got a couple options I can bring in. I think every free hit draft, including, to be fair, the ones that I've made, have had Cunha as one of their starting two strikers. And I think if you're on your free hit, he's probably the man to go for. But for me, where I'm not, and if I buy him, I kind of just have to hold on to him long term. It's just not, I don't think he's the best option. Basically, he's got Arsenal as one of the games in his double, which is one thing that I would call a red flag that would kind of put you off. He's also really overperforming his XG as well. When you look at the stats, 8.7 expected goals and 11 actual goals. That suggests to me that it's probably not sustainable, the level of returns, goals at least, that he's been getting. So he's got Arsenal in 34, Luton, to be fair, in 35, which is obviously a nice fixture. And then Man City in 36, Palace, who are looking improved, in 37, and then Liverpool in Game Week 38 to round off the season. So that's not the easiest set of fixtures, and I think he'll struggle to score goals in all of those games, basically. So for me, yes, I think he's a decent option, but at 5.6 million, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable benching a player of that value. I just think you can do a bit better. Now, this could well backfire on me, right? But thinking double Game Week 34 alone, I think Mateta could well be the best player for me to bring in. Granted, he's not on penalties like Cunha is, but he's got two really nice fixtures. West Ham and Newcastle, both at Selhurst Park. I think we all know that Crystal Palace's stadium is like an intimidating place to go for away teams, and they're definitely, good at home. And I think at 5 million as well, if there's ever a game week where, I don't want to play him, I'll be less worried about having to bench him, and I think that might well be the case in future game weeks, right? And if you look at those fixtures across the season, I think comparatively to Wolves' they're probably a bit better. Like Fulham are pretty strong defensively, but then Man United, Wolves and Villa, they're all teams that concede goals, and Mateta could get on the score sheet if I needed him. So I don't mind him as an option. And I'd say also he's just played a decent level of minutes. His returns aren't quite as strong as Cunha, but I think with the fixtures he's got in 34, the fact he's a little bit cheaper than Cunha as well means I have extra money to potentially, looking at Game Week 37, which is obviously a double for a load of teams. My team isn't currently well set up for that, and I'll need as much money in the bank as possible, I think, in order to buy the players to improve my team for 37. I just think Mateta allows me to do that a bit better. So yeah, I think like for like, they're probably around the same in terms of my mind's expected points for Game Week 34. But long term, I think Mateta is the better buy for me. Let me know in the comments what you think. So with all those things considered then, that leaves me with a team like this. Dubravka, Gabriel, Gusto, White, Salah, Saka, Sarabia, Palmer, Mateta, Solanke and Haaland. Petrovic, Son, Udogie and Richards, all three of those outfielders obviously don't play. 0.8 million in the bank should I need to upgrade my team elsewhere. I'm not too unhappy with this team. I think it'll do me just fine. I'm probably not quite as strong on doublers as other players. How many have I got? Was that 7 doublers? 4 with a single game week. The only one that really worries me with a single is Gusto. I know I've also got Dubravka and Mateta play him on another, but I think Dubravka, if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, probably get me saves bonus. I'm not too worried about that. Just a little bit worried about Gusto, but I just don't think with the double in 35 it's quite worth a hit to take him out. Well, things might change as we get nearer the deadline, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment. 100.9 expected points is what I'm looking at. And to be honest, having to start Palmer and Haaland, even though they've only got a single game week, is not the end of the world, really, is it? And I'm back to where I was before my wildcard with double Arsenal defence as well. My whole wildcard in game week, when I play game week 29, has been an absolute disaster. So I want to completely forget about that, to be honest, and just move on now. This is my team at the moment. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that. Just one thing to say for anyone that regularly tunes into my deadline stream. I'm off on holiday on Saturday, so I'm going to be away for a week, so Saturday to Saturday. I fly out sort of midday time on Saturday, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get online for a deadline stream. And then the following Saturday, when the game week 35 deadline is, I get home really late, like 3 AM Sunday morning, so I'll be traveling basically all day. So the next couple of weeks, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do a deadline stream, but I bought myself a new light, a portable light that's going to come with me in my hotel room. And I should hopefully be able to make a couple of videos while I'm away. So stick around for those. I'll do my usual video series just from a hotel room in Egypt, basically. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video and want to stick around and see some of those videos, you can subscribe to the Gold channel, which should be just here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.